Hello, this is Julie from HockeyBuzz.com, and I am here with Tim Panaccio and Anthony Sanfilippo. And we're here chatting about tonight's game between the Flyers and the Capitals. If you'd like to pose questions, you can do that in the chat room. But for now, why don't you guys give us an intro for tonight's game?
Well, actually, we were talking about Mr. Smith.
That's all we're concerned about. We don't care about the game. We care about where we'll be after the game.
Yes, Mr. Smith is not Jason
No.
Smith.
Although he will play tonight. That's good news in case anybody doesn't know. He will play.
Except he won't sing. There will be no piano bar.
But there will be a piano bar after the game. Anyway, let's get back to hockey.
You know what, Anthony? I think it's going to be an interesting first period. I think the Flyers have to come out strong right away. And as you were saying before we got on the air, they can't get behind this series. Young team. Take it from there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you another thing, Tim, that's really interesting is Washington has only trailed it after one period 3 times since February 15th. So they're a team that likes to get out and jump on teams. The Flyers can't let them do that. They have to play smart defensive hockey. Otherwise, Washington will get an early advantage, and they're a dangerous team once they get ahead. If the Flyers get ahead of Washington, Washington struggles coming from behind. So it's whoever gets that first goal is going to be very crucial in this series.
And you know what? I think another thing that could be crucial for the Flyers when they have the puck is they have got to get traffic and you got to rattle Cristobal QIK. Eck was pointing out something. This guy gets when he gets a little bit rattled, when he spurs it back into the net, starts giving up goals from the outside. I think that might be a strategy the Flyers will try tonight.
It's absolutely. That's what it's something that they tried against New Jersey, and it worked on Brodeur. They kept saying, crash net on Brodeur, crash net on Brodeur. In the last 2 games against him, 7 goals against Brodeur, and actually less than 6 periods because Brodeur got pulled in the 3rd period of the game in Philadelphia.
I'd actually agree with you guys because Cristobal QIK does not do very well when there's bodies in front of him. He doesn't get the angles, doesn't have an opportunity to get set up. On the flip side, though, the Capitals do not usually have a man in front of the crease. They'll do guys goal side, but they won't have anybody in front of the net. So if the Flyers can get someone in front of the net to clear away any loose rebounds, they'll be able to benefit from that.
Well, actually, the Capitals take advantage of a European style. They play east to west, coast north to south. So a lot of their games it goes from board to board, half wall and half wall, as opposed to from the point to the net. And that's what makes it such a dangerous game.
I like what you just said, east to west. We saw one of our Russian correspondents here tonight, and he said, this pitch, the most Russian team in the league against the most anti-Russian team in the league.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Well, who was the last Russian the Flyers really actively had on their team? John, right? Maybe that whole year.
The defenseman.
John Malikov and Markov together for one season.
Yeah.
Like half the season for all of them.
And the last one was Zhitnik, the most recent that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he's gone.
But they traded him.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's the last Russian.
Yeah, Dennis Tolpeko.
Well, that's true. Because then
He played, what, 23 games?
It's not something right, though. He did skate today. He is available. He will not be in the lineup. Steve Downey, I don't think he's on the trip.
No.
Still has the flu.
Still has the flu.
Randy Jones, I think, is playing with the flu. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. He is missing some practice.
Yeah, he practiced today for the first
How
time.
good is he going to be?
That's a big question. You know, Randy Jones with Lofty Kukunin as the 3rd defensive pair. You know, Jason Smith coming back off the injury, playing with Modry. And Modry, give him credit, he was awful when he first got here. The last 2 games, he's been really good. So give Modry some credit. But it's going to be interesting to see how they play. They are in the 3rd unit and second and third units on defense for the Flyers.
It'll be interesting, too, to see how Boudreau decides who he wants out against Ovechkin. You know, when he puts Ovechkin out there, which unit will he try to attack?
I'm not certain he's going to necessarily attack a line, Tim, because I think that the Flyers have smartly put together lines that there's any number of 2 or 3 lines that can play against Ovechkin. I think Boudreau is going to try and match Ovechkin against the defensive pair.
Right.
And I think that he's going to try to avoid Timonen and Coburn as much as he can and try and get him out against those other 2 pairings.
You know, I got the impression that Coburn really wants to shut it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's been talking this week and talking today how excited he is, I think he really wants to see what he can do.
What's he saying?
But he's saying he would relish a chance to see what Ovechkin will do and whether he'll respond to it. He said, I've been really excited about my first playoff game. He said, I'm not that nervous. He said, I want it to happen. I want to get on with it. So we'll see what happens.
There's no doubt Coburn and Timonen will be the pairing matched up against them in the games in Philadelphia. John Stevens has made it crystal clear that he wants those 2 against Ovechkin as much as possible. So it'll be interesting to see how he can make his defensive changes on the fly, especially with Washington getting the last change here in D.C.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a stat for tonight, Jules. If you were to take away Ovechkin's goals in either the first period or the third period, he still would have scored 47 goals, 5 Mountain.
Oh my God.
That's pretty good.
That's a good stat, Tim.
I
Good
got to
stat.
I got to rate.
Well, what you mentioned a little bit earlier, Tim, is that that this is Coburn's first playoff game, and it is a first playoff game for a lot of players on both sides of the ice tonight. How do you think that will play into tonight's game?
You know, I think Jimmy Matheson from the Edmonton Journal said there's a lot of teams around the league right now are experiencing this because it's become a younger league since the salary cap came in, and you're going to be seeing more and more younger players, you know, doing their first night thing. I think it's one of these things where you get it under your belt one game. I think you're fine in terms of nerves and this and that, but you have to build off of that. I mean, the Flyers, a lot of guys tonight that are playing have never played in a Flyer uniform, so it's their first game, even though they may have played 70 games somewhere else in the playoffs. But half the roster is probably in that situation.
Absolutely, and I think Tim's right with that, and I think it'll get out of the way early, Julie, because these are two teams that have had 5 and 6 days off, respectively, Flyers and Capitals, so they have been really, really champing at the bit to get out there and start this game. I think you're going to see a really, really up-tempo first period by both sides, and I think that gets the nerves out of the way real quick because you have to play at the speed of the game. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So I think both the nerves will be gone real quick, 1 or 2 shifts. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Can John Stevens going against the 2 rookie playoff coaches? But John's got a lot of people on the bench to help him. Joey Moan, Jack McElhardy. They've got a lot of games under their belt.
Terry Murray.
How do you guys think that the 5-6 day layoff is going to affect the game? Other than they'll be.
I think there'll be
ready to go.
disappointing at the start. I really do. I think that's just natural. But, you know, it may have helped these teams, too, because they were pretty banged up.
And I think it helps the Flyers more than it helps the Capitals. And I make this, I wrote this, I made the comparison to Major League Baseball. If anybody follows baseball, the Colorado Rockies last year in the playoffs, I mean, they won 21 and 22 down the stretch, and in the beginning of the playoffs, swept the Phillies, swept the Diamondbacks, were playing the best baseball in long, long time. Then they had 8 days off before the World Series, and all of a sudden they couldn't hit. Both Boston swept them. I think Washington was on that tear, and they come into this situation, and they very well may be the team that's a little bit behind in that emotional energy after the first 5 minutes. And I think that could be a little bit of a downfall here in Game 1 for Washington.
All right, question from the chat room. Is there any chance that we will see Niittymaki in this series?
Only if Marty gets lit up like a Christmas tree right away. I think that's the only chance that happens.
Yeah, I agree. I know people must be looking down the road, and they see Games 6 and 7 are on back-to-back nights, and we know what Biron's numbers are in the second back-to-back nights. I don't think that the Flyers would turn to Terry Niittymaki in a 3-2 deficit, 3-2 advantage, or even a 3-3 situation. I think that they'll stick with Biron for better or worse.
And they'll be second-guessed forever.
Right. If it doesn't work.
If it doesn't work.
Right, exactly.
All right, you guys got anything else to add?
No, that's about it. See you, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Smith. You got to be there, Julie.
All right, I'll see what I
And
can.
anybody who's in Washington.
I'll see what I can arrange.
Anybody who's in Washington, join us at Mr. Smith and George County after the game. Be a good time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, fellas.
See ya.